Eastenders Weekly, your weekly podcast all about EastEnders. This week we're discussing episodes from the 10th to the 14th of September.
It wasn't quite the week it was last week. It wasn't quite as epic.
No.
Lots more
Not
happened
stressful.
with a lot more different people. So it wasn't so, as you say, so stressful. But I really enjoyed last week, and I was hoping that there would have been a little bit more of a continuation with the Carters, like a bit more in depth.
The Carters have just been a little bit messy.
Yeah,
it's not messy, but like every episode someone else gets arrested.
That's right. Every episode is almost like each one is just a story of the week, isn't it? So Monday it was Linda, then Tuesday it was Tina and
Mick.
Tina and Dylan, and then Friday was Mick. You know, it's got a bit silly.
It did, but we'll talk about them later.
But yes, more on that soon.
So we're starting off this week with the storyline of Baby Abby, TM, and Max, Rainey, and Jack. Because Jack's obviously very depressed.
He's heartbroken. He's lost his one of many true loves. His third true love? His third blonde, yeah. 3 non-blondes.
Well, he's gone through 3 blondes now, so the next one's a redhead. Well, coloured redhead.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, she's a bottle redhead.
Yes, bottle redhead. The famous phrase. So he's been drinking since last Friday.
Heavily. But lucky for him...
Lost his clothes.
But lucky for him, he's had a reliable Sonia just round the corner to look after his kids for him. All he has to do is go out for an errand and he can ask Sonia to... A lot of times this week he goes saying to people, "Oh, lucky Sonia can look after the kids. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to do that."
Poor Sonia.
But ultimately on Thursday he decided to palm off his kids to Sonia so that he could have a night in with himself. Indian takeaway in the fridge. Couple of whiskies, which he'd already started.
Really early.
Really
First
early.
thing in the morning he was drinking.
Well, he was drinking while showering as well, yeah. Well, no, it was the evening time, wasn't it? He just had a shower, yeah. Because he was chilling out, he was relaxing. Max said to Rainey, "Let's close up early. They're opening up the Vic again." Then the news filtered through that they're not going to open the Vic tonight. So they said, "Oh, let's go to E20. Won't Mel be there?" No, because Jack had bought tickets for Mel to go to the theatre.
Oh, I see.
So she had gone with Ray, I presume. So no one was running E20 either. The one night when nothing actually happened.
So Jack bought Mel tickets for them both to go, and she's taken both tickets and taken Ray.
Well, presumably so.
So horrible, isn't she, Mel?
She didn't take Sharon because Sharon was busy elsewhere herself. Yes. And Mel doesn't really have anyone else other than Hunter. I doubt Hunter would want to go. So yeah, Jack.
Typical Mel. It's like when Ian lets her have free meals to go to the launch, and she doesn't turn up.
Then she sends a text message saying, "Not going to bother."
She's so user, isn't she?
She's a proper user. But that's good because that made way for Jack to have a fun night out full of reveals at E20 with Rainey and Max.
Yes, it was. I mean, this reveal of the Branning brothers drinking together and being close brothers, it was a bit odd that Max decided to reveal this secret.
Yes, because this was always Max's plan, and to use the feeble excuse of, I wanted to make him feel a bit better about the situation he's in, to seem a bit not really to Max's CV. He was the one who continuously was worried of people finding out, and I don't think the Brannings are that close to one another. I mean, Jack did allude to that when they were younger, Max used to always steal his clothes and take all his stuff, his toys, and this and the other, which I think was perhaps a little bit of a nod of what was going to happen later that evening, because obviously if Max steals what Jack always wants, maybe Jack would steal what Max always needs or wants.
I know, but it's written like it's so convenient this week. Like, Max and Rainey have been on and off, and not really. This whole time, Max has shown no want to be with Rainey.
No.
And it's just convenient that this week he happens to suddenly fall in love with her because of what Stacey said to him.
But you saw they were getting closer up until this point, even to the beginning of the story when they were at the car lot. They were closer together. You could see that much at least. And Rainey was always, as we've said this before, Rainey was always the one who liked Max more than Max liked Rainey. But I think Max was beginning to warm to Rainey. Like they had that joke.
Or is he just... Well, I haven't got a woman at the moment. You'll do.
You'll do. Every hole's a goal, as it were. I mean, he did notice that Rainey had put up that picture of him and baby Abby next to her desk at the car lot, and he...
Yeah, that picture's been there for ages, isn't it?
No, I think
I'm sure I've seen it before.
I think she used to have the picture on her person, and now she's putting it up. And Max noticed that, and Max was, "Oh, that's a nice photo. It's a shame it's a shame you're in it."
I suppose a few weeks ago when she was selling that car to that man, he came storming in and going, "That's my wife."
Yeah, exactly. So jealousy was was starting to brew. There was always...
I don't buy it. I don't buy the relationship.
Well, they need this relationship, though, in order for it to break down so they can be rebuilt, but with a plot twist to it. So, yes, you're right. It was a bit of a convenience, but it's all for the greater story.
It is. So, obviously, Rainey finds out that Max has told Jack the secret. So she says, don't you bother coming home tonight.
Yep.
I might kill you. Shoot you. Someone's going to shoot someone. So he spends the night in the car lot and he's like drinking on Arthur's bench. So there's a scene between Max and Stacey, because obviously Stacey's concerned about her. Don't know what Max is to her. She like always seems to try and guide him, doesn't she?
Well, she
has this thing,
Yeah, they've had this relationship where they look after one another.
It's a bit like Pat and Frank. Like every time they see each other, they just have to rekindle their
Well, they're
affair.
almost it's almost like they were married at some point and then split up, because there's always a road getting back together. I mean, was
there for each other and stuff.
Yeah, was Max like Stacey's first? So maybe there's that kind
Bradley must have been, surely.
Oh yeah, no, it would have been Bradley.
Yeah,
of course, because they were getting married. Well, no, yes,
and then they had the affair.
That's when the affair kicked in. Oh,
but
okay.
It's sort of that, because Frank and Pat always had that thing between them. That every time they saw each other, they would have to rekindle. So it's a bit like that.
Yeah, which Peggy later accepted.
Yeah,
but at first she wasn't too happy about.
So Stacey's the new Pat.
What? So he's the new Frank?
Oh no,
he's
not as lovable.
Yeah, don't tarnish the name of Frank Butcher.
But that similar sort of thing is going on between them. So they have the heart to heart because she's the person who knows Max the most out of anyone in the whole world. Whole world. As Stacey says.
Yeah. But she wasn't that much of a heart to heart. She was like, Rainey's good for you.
Yeah, she sort of tells him, I know that you're probably the one that messed this up, because you always are.
Which is true.
And she said that anyone can see that Rainey's good for you, apparently.
Well, I think the whole square has warmed, because at first the whole square kind of questioned it when they first were introduced as a married couple. They came walking. Where was it? They were at the registry office, and Robbie was the best man.
Everyone who disagreed and didn't like Rainey, she's got rid of, hasn't she? Got rid of Ingrid, got rid of Donna.
Any trouble she's got? Yes. Well, does that mean then that Jack might get in the way? I mean, there was this. Well, we're jumping forward a little bit, but basically, Jack and Rainey decide to comfort each other back at Jack's house, and one way to comfort each other apparently is to have sex twice.
Yeah, it's very odd because she's like crying on the sofa, and she's like, she just wants someone to care for her, need her. Basically, is what she has big attachment issues, doesn't she? Obviously from Cora.
Yes.
Well, I'm assuming Tanya was always the favourite daughter, wasn't she?
Yeah, well, Tanya was always the clean one.
Yeah.
Was she the oldest daughter as well? While
yes.
Rainey was so Rainey was the youngest daughter, always the run to the litter.
So she's always had those attachment issues, and obviously this played to Jack's heartstrings. And even after all that brandy, he can still go for 2 rounds.
I mean, kudos again to Marsden's acting drunk, because well, no, just let me finish, because obviously in his 3-step plan of being drunk, it involves swishing back and forth, kind of having half-drawn eyes as he looks at people, and just kind of wobbling around a lot.
And also had baby oil all over his abs.
But I don't think that's him. I don't think that's him like sweating baby oil out of his skin because of the alcohol content.
Although for the viewers,
that was for the viewers, not this viewer. Let me tell you.
She takes some advice from Phil, because he's amazing at acting drunk.
What? Steve McFadden?
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
was on holiday, so you can get some advice, could he?
You could have Skyped him.
The trouble.
Skype him. Skype Phil. Go on. Skype Phil had to be drunk.
He's an expert at it. Yeah, his drunk acting wasn't...
Well, it was just him swishing more, and kind of moving around a lot.
It just looked like he couldn't be bothered, and he just wanted to get going.
Yeah,
like,
it was really distracting.
Still.
Yeah.
It didn't look drunk to me.
At first I thought he was just excited about something.
Yeah, I get to act.
Yeah. I get a scene. But yeah, no, it was really odd. And also he kind of sobered up really quickly, which was... I know this was quite a shocking revelation, but he had, at my count, 6 whiskies and then was drinking 2 beers at the club. I mean, that would have just floored me. I wouldn't have even heard what Max had said to me in the club at that point.
But Rainey got the best out of him, so she spent the night together, and then we obviously go to the next day, where the storyline is basically the social worker is coming for a big meeting.
Yes, well, Max had got the message beforehand, and so he told Rainey to stay sober and, keep her act together, which Rainey duly did.
Yeah, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He didn't do any of that.
He was drunk in the car lot all night. Stinking All of them must stink.
Well, yes, that house must have stank of alcohol the next night, the next morning, because Max came in without even having showered.
Or brushing his teeth or anything.
Yeah. What did
they
he
were
do?
drinking was it it looked like brandy.
It was whiskey.
Whiskey,
from a mug, which he had a little bottle of whiskey he was drinking on the bench whilst talking to Stacey, and then he got to the car lot, and like all good reputable businesses, has its own little drinking tray that sells cars. May I remind you, it has a little drinking tray in the middle of the cabin.
Well, they get the clients a bit drunk, don't they, before they tell them.
Well, before they drive away from the lot.
Oh yeah,
then
anything to sign a deal. So the social worker storyline's back. We haven't heard much about baby Abby recently. I mean, it's taking quite a while. So she's had all these months growing up alone. She's going to be 1 soon.
Oh yeah, it's almost Christmas, isn't it? She's 9 months.
Yeah, it's a bit bizarre. So I don't know who has baby Abby at the moment.
The social
workers.
I imagine they're.
Yeah.
What they should have done is have baby Abby over at the Ahmeds.
No.
Well, they.
You're not allowed to place them in a vicinity of where the carers are trying to get them.
This is the crazy world of Wolford, Ben.
Well,
it would have made lovely and perfect sense. And yeah, I want that to happen. That's just popped into my head and I like it.
Well, the Ahmeds need something to do. So yeah, they have this big meeting. So obviously Rainey has reined in Max.
Oh.
That's the episode title.
We've already used, I think, Rainy.
I know we have. Rain on her parade. So yeah, she gets Max all up together and gets the meeting going. The kids are there to sort of keep up appearances.
The social worker has come to see what the impact would be on the household if baby Abby should come and live with them. So he's ultimately there to talk to Jack, which he doesn't really say anything to, and the 2 kids.
Amy and Ricky.
Yeah.
New Ricky. Get some lines this week.
I like new Ricky.
Yeah.
His face doesn't...
He's better. He's got an annoying face like that.
He doesn't have the face which you want to kind of punch in the nicest possible way.
So yeah, he wants to talk to the kids alone. Amy's being very bizarre.
Well, Amy's
shots
being
of Amy.
a bit cryptic, isn't she? Because don't forget that earlier in the kitchen when Jack and Rainey were kind of saying, let's just keep it to ourselves, let's not tell Max, and they agree. Then they have a proper kiss
really
on the
weird.
mouth, which was a bit odd.
I thought that was weird the next morning. He put his arm around her to comfort her.
Yeah,
they were together.
But your kiss on the cheek or on the head would have been fine, just to kind of seal the agreement to say that yes, we'll keep this a secret between us. Last night was fun, but let's just draw a line to it.
I saw it was very odd body language because obviously the morning after it was a bit regretful. They were drunk, now they're sober. But he put his arm around her and stroked her back, and I don't know. It's a bit like.
I mean, it's so hard though with Scott Marsden because you don't know whether it's actual deliberate body language that it's meant to look awkward, or if it's just
maybe
him being awkward.
But it seems a bit coupley, like for an accidental one night stand with your brother's wife, sort of thing.
Too close.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure about that, but obviously Amy's been up to naughty tricks.
Well, she has. Well, she says to the social worker that Auntie Rainey loves kissing, which the social worker just thinks, oh yes, well Auntie Rainey and Max are just married. Oh, they're going to be huggy and cuddly, and she just kind of swigs her milk and goes like, nah, that's not what I mean.
And Daddy has lots of girlfriends.
Daddy does have lots of girlfriends. Daddy's a bit of a male
pig.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I mean, I do worry for Amy's future. Her she's going to grow up quite a distressed young girl.
I think she's going to make a really interesting character.
Yeah. Roxy 2.0. Definitely. Hopefully she hasn't got many of her dad's traits.
No, she's definitely her mother's daughter. Oh, definitely her mother's daughter.
Yeah. So I do feel sorry for her, and I worry for baby Abby's upbringing, because this life in the Wolford is not going to bring much fun. Well,
she's got a few good years yet before she gets tarnished. She doesn't know what's happening in the world. She doesn't know what happened one day to the next. All she cares about is where someone's nose has gone or something like that.
Yeah, the meeting seems to go quite well, even though the social worker's not allowed to say, but he does say.
Yeah. As good as.
No mention of Cora, so they're keeping that separate. I'm assuming she's still going for custody.
Well, at least he's keeping his dignified in that respect. You can't tell too much about what Cora's up to. I mean, I can't imagine what Cora can offer. Oh, she's got
Tanya.
Money. That's right. I forgot about that. Yes, a little cafe.
Tanya, who's having a mental breakdown
on the coast.
Off
sells
screen.
Tea. But Tanya, we don't know what Tanya's doing.
Well, she's just having a mental breakdown.
I would have thought she'd recovered by now, isn't she?
No, the actress is still busy.
The actress is, but Tanya, you can't just imagine. She's probably straightened herself up whilst the The social wouldn't entertain their
She'll never
request.
appear, though, on EastEnders.
Well, not full-time. Maybe part-time.
I don't know. I think the only time we'll ever see Tanya again is if maybe Max leaves.
Well, then she comes in.
No, but like she'll just do a guest thing to end his character arc and stuff.
Yeah, but Max will never leave. What about if Jane comes back?
Who?
Jane.
Oh, I thought you said Jake.
No,
she won't come back for Jane.
She came back once for Jane. For the wedding
Yeah,
of
look at that turn.
Tony and Bill. Yeah.
The live episode. Not good. So Rainey plans to leave again. She gets all upset and
she goes to the car lot. Max thinks she's gone to the car lot to steal the money from the money pot, but she actually has just gone
what
to
is
get
it
the
that
photo.
makes her decide to leave again after the social worker meeting? What is it that triggers this again?
She says basically that she'd be going anyway once he's got the baby. It looks as though the deal was good as done. It's only another couple of weeks to go, so she might as well just leave now. And Max can just say, she's out, or she's upstairs with a headache. Yeah, she's out with a friend.
So is she going and not expecting the money when she's doing this?
This is it. She didn't. That's it. That's exactly it. So she went to the car lot. Max thought that she'd gone to the car lot to steal the money from the kind of kitty jar.
We couldn't have offered her much for this big job.
Well, I know, but she hadn't. But this is another thing. Jack said, you're going to lose out on the money. It's not about the money. The only, no one seems to recognise that to Rainey, this is not about the money. Like you could have just walked in on the final conversation they had, and you still would have known that this is not about the money. Max can't see it for some reason, though.
Still, it really annoyed me when he was in the car lot and he said to her, "Oh, so I guess it was just for the money then."
But then,
like, "Oh, shut up, man."
Yeah, I know. But then he goes to check the tin, and he sees that it's not been emptied. And then, like I say, she went to steal the photo of her baby Abby, trademark, and Max.
Cut out Max. She can cut out Max, can't she?
She can. She can.
He threatened that earlier. But yeah, they rekindle their love for each other. They seem to realise that he does love her, and they kiss passionately
at the
in
tube
subway
station. Yeah, at the tube.
Again, written for convenience because of what's just happened. Cuts. They keep cutting to shots of Amy looking mysterious.
Yeah, well, looking also a bit pervy.
Yeah, and menacing.
Yeah, she looks a bit like a maniac. Like I don't know. She's just got this kind
frantically staring at this video.
She's got this kind of like unstraight smile, and she's just looking at this video like with those big eyes. And then when they show the video, and the video is obviously her recording off her iPad of Jack
and Rainey's
kiss in the kitchen.
Hopefully she didn't record.
No, because this was the
next morning.
This was the next morning. So she because the night before she was at Sonia's. Remember, she was being babysat by Sonia. Yeah. But the next morning she'd walked in on them, which is why it was a convenience that they had that strange kiss in the kitchen.
Really weird one.
Which would in any other situation would never really probably have happened. So why did they? Well, we know why they just did it for plot.
I mean, this is quite similar. It reminded me of the Max Stacey reveal of their affair Christmas Day with a video being played of Lauren's.
Lauren had burnt onto DVD.
Yeah. And this is obviously going to be a similar sort of thing, but with new technology, with the cloud.
Yes. The cloud got a few mentions this week.
It did. So yeah, she has this video. Obviously, this is going to come out now that Max and Rainey are an official couple.
But I don't see why Max should be upset, because at the time of this actually happening, Max had realised that maybe he did have some feelings for Rainey. But let's be honest, he had only just realised that on that evening.
I know. But you know that Max is just gonna.
What are you doing that for? What are you telling them
He'll run to Stacey.
Oh, I hate Max.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Brannings.
I mean, I was really starting to gun for Rainey. I liked the Rainey and Max story, and I liked that they were doing something that Rainey and Max were together. And okay, this is fine. This is something to do just to lengthen the story after because presumably they're getting baby Abby now. And the only presumption I can think of now is that they'll get baby Abby, it'll get found out, and then
he'll
Max...
chuck her out. It'll be raining outside. She'll be crying in the rain with all the stuff around her. Yeah,
and Max will just end up bringing up Abby on his own, which, again, all it would take then would be one phone call from Cora to the social saying, oh, by the way, Max is now on his own looking after the baby, and it will be back to square one again. It's madness, but it's a shame they've done that, because Max and Rainey was starting to grow on me somewhat. No. It's every time they throw Jack into the mix.
I know.
I tell you, as soon as they throw Jack into the mix, it ruins anything.
Yeah,
every story.
Not the best.
No. But the reason why Jack has been added to the mix is because Ray had returned. But we'll get to that in a second. First of all, what tweets did we have concerning this story?
Well, I just have a few things that people have commented to us. So I posted out, is Amy about to get her first storyline? We had a reply saying she certainly has an interesting piece of evidence there on her tablet, and that was from Noel Derek Hiller. So he's very curious. And then Stephen True says that was so crafty what Amy did. She's secretly filming Jack and Rainey kissing. So yeah, very curious. Nice that she had got her first Duff Duff.
Yeah, she got her first, and at the end of the week.
Congratulations, yeah, Friday Duff Duff.
Friday Duff Duff for Amy.
So, yeah, pay increase.
Yeah,
I think is needed.
Extra
for her.
lollipop, extra fried chicken in their bag this week.
Yes. So on the other half of the breakup of the relationship of Mel and Jack, there was a small storyline with Mel, Hunter, and Ray, her new Irish undercover cop.
It was a story to introduce Ray to the story, to
Wolford.
To the Wolford, yes.
They're having like a daddy-son day.
Well, because Ray suggests that they go off somewhere else. This, shall we lay our roots somewhere new, try somewhere fresh? And Hunter looks up and says, "No, I like it here. I want to stay here." So Ray's
Even though all he's done is moan about it for the past year.
Yeah, and then proceeded to take Ray on a trip around the square, where he then proceeded to moan about every single spot periodically. He insulted everything. He said the pub where all the sad people go when they've clocked out at the end of the day. There's the cafe, wouldn't go there for breakfast. Yeah. There's the market, wouldn't go there for clothes. And it's like, all right, Hunter, 5 minutes ago, you were just saying how wonderful this place is, Wolford. But we do learn a bit later on why he had said that. And that's when they go to the chicken shop. And there's a few home truths on both sides. What type of
scabby boy would go to a chicken shop, eh?
Well, someone who's hungry. That's who.
So it's all good enough for Hunter. So, they go to the chicken shop and they have like a few chats about how things are going to be different now. Because obviously Ray supposedly given up the job which broke them up in the first place.
He has, but Hunter has noticed that he keeps looking at a burner, a mobile phone that he keeps receiving messages from. So Hunter's quite wily. He's noticing these little things that his dad does. So he's not stupid. He sees these messages. He keeps looking at things off to one side, but that Ray is actually looking at with trying to hide from everyone else.
Well, he's probably being brought up around these Mel and Ray and knowing about his dad, he's probably had to wise up through his years.
Yeah, he also shows that he's protecting his mum though, Mel. So he's obviously we always think that he's playing his mum, and to some degree he is, but at the same time he does want the best, and he even says to Ray, I don't want mum messed around. His main concern is that he wants his mum to be happy, and so he brought Ray in for that to happen. But now he's noticed that Ray's doing these kind of weird.
I mean, he half wants her to be happy and half selfishly wants Ray, because if he really wanted Mel to be happy, he would have let Jack stick around.
No, because he knows Jack's a complete ass. So he
That's your personal opinion.
And Hunter's. And the one thing I would say to Hunter, because I would never say that Hunter is particularly also one of my favourite characters, but he has gone up by about 5 points in my book since he's destroyed
Jack.
Yeah, and destroyed Jack from this relationship with Mel. So that's a good thing.
He gets a call, obviously, of a job. You don't really hear much or know much about what this job is.
Well, Ray has said if you leave an occupation like the one I was doing, then there's always going to be a few loose ends that need to be tied up. Yeah, there's a handover period.
I don't believe that for a second.
Well, this is the reason why he went, though, for 2 hours. And he implored with Hunter to not tell Mel anything about it, to keep it to himself. So this is basically Hunter sees that maybe it is best just to keep this to himself, because he can see that there's the relationship between him and Mel and Ray is beginning to grow again. Yeah,
because he covers for Ray when he gets back and tells Mel that he's gone off again, because he says, he's just go out getting takeaway, he'll be back soon. So he's still covering for Ray, obviously thinking if Mel doesn't know this, they're going to stay together and then I will be happy.
I think he's not just covering for Ray just for his own happiness. I do think he's doing it because he likes this family unit. He didn't really forgive Mel for leaving Ray the first time around, and he's now trying to get them back as this family unit. He seems much more calmer as well, Hunter. Although he did say that he slept with Phil Mitchell's daughter.
Showing
off in front of Ray. And Ray took a bit of an interest in Phil Mitchell.
Yeah, he did. He said, I've heard about him. So whether he's there to investigate what Phil is up to, or maybe this is what to do with what Phil's doing in Spain, this job.
Oh, perhaps, yeah, this job that
he's got a correspondent in Spain following them, and that's what his 2 hours away was, to catch up on something.
I was going to say fly to Spain.
No.
2 hours
but,
to Spain.
yeah, maybe it's something. Obviously, he noted about Phil.
He's
gone in to talk to Honey for a few scenes. There's been 2 or 3 scenes where he's talked to Honey.
Oh yes, and there's a really great line with Mel when she says that that Honey is a full paid-up member of the cult of the Brannings, which I thought was a great line. Again,
True.
alluding to when maybe Honey was going to have a thing with Jack.
Ended up just being friends.
Friends.
Yeah. So whether he's talking to Honey because he knows that she's with, like, on the Mitchells, maybe he's doing some bit of undercover copping.
Honey's not really got any connection with the Mitchells.
Yeah, but she used to because of Billy, and they always used to, she gets invited to the Mitchell family dinners, so she's got something to do with the Mitchells.
Yeah, that's true. She's got.
So maybe they're hinting at that. That's why he's getting close.
Do you reckon he wants to know more about the Easter dinner? Maybe that's the talk of the police station.
Yeah, who chucked cream?
Who chucked cream? The big.
It was Mel.
Mel was at that meal. Yes, you keep forgetting. So again, is that
That's why he's back with Mel.
Is that why he's back with Mel? Because he's got that connection. Because she's looking after the club for Phil Mitchell. Well, Sharon.
All the extra money that's in the safe, you see.
Yeah, but that's interesting that they're trying to.
So I don't think he has retired his job. He's lying.
Oh no, he's definitely lying. We just need to know for why, what reason. And as we say, Mitchell was brought up.
So yeah, that wraps up. There was just like their little storyline of Mel, and obviously we've got a section this week which is a bit different, where we catch everyone up on the return of Ruby Allen because she is coming back next week. So anyone who might not know who she is, we've got this Is Your Life section coming up next.
It's time for This Is Your Life, retrospective look at a character that's returning to the square. Something we don't do very often because there's not been many returns to the square. In fact, we've only ever done it once.
No, we missed one.
We've done
Melanie
one.
Owen.
Yeah, so we've done 50-50. That's a good odds, I feel. We've done 1 and 2. So anyway, now we'll do 2 and 3, so it'll be even better still. But it's just also a quick reminder that you can find some very cool merch at shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Eastenders Weekly Podcast, where we have original designs on anything and everything you can think of, on t-shirts, on mugs, on pins, hats, baby grows, pillows.
I put some close-up photos on Instagram as well for people.
Oh, have you? Just so people can see. But they are really cool, aren't they? And it's an original design. And
Queen Vic bust.
The Queen Vic bust.
She's been there since the beginning.
She has.
So we thought that'd be a good first.
The genesis of our store, yes. And for a short time, you also can get 15% discount when you purchase anything from the store. It's been around since it opened last week, just we've got to mention it the first time round. So go to shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Eastenders Weekly Podcast. Just have a look at what you can buy, because there's some really nice stuff. Anyway, enough of the plugging. Here is This Is Your Life. And this week, obviously, we know that we have a returning character coming, and
on
that
the
is
18th. She comes back
on the 18th, and she's coming back with a bang. But we'll maybe talk about that in a bit. Ben's not so sure. It's Ruby Allen, and some people may not know who Ruby Allen is.
Really? I thought she was an iconic character for those 12 months she was in the show.
Well, just in case someone isn't so sure, here's a quick lowdown of Ruby Allen's character. So she came to the square when she ran away from her boarding school. Which in search for her father, who was Johnny Allen, who was at the time the gangster of the square.
He was. Get Johnny Weak.
Yes. That happened. That was
towards the end of
toward the tenure of Johnny Allen. But she held a very high esteem for her father, and she would always hold him to a high standard and judge him for anything she felt that he would let her down with. So when she found out that he had an affair, she was very disappointed in him, and also other dealings, which Peggy wasn't very shy to release to Ruby by saying that her father was a violent, murdering bully, which really upset her even more.
We need to look at our own kids.
Peggy does, you're right. Yeah,
look at Phil, I think. Although he's not a murderer yet.
Yeah, but Phil, and especially Grant, could do no wrong in the eyes of Peggy. They were her boys. They stuck up for her when their father used to abuse her, remember? Oh, yeah. So they were her boys. She's thick and thin, she'd look after them. She dated Julie Smith. And she actually... Julie Smith. It was a guy. He ran a stall with Mickey. They were trades.
Weird name.
He was a weird guy. No, he was a really cool guy. Julie, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that was a boy's name.
Vivian's a boy's name. Ben's a boy's name. Alex can be a boy's or girl's name. I suppose
she
Julie,
dated him.
I suppose Julie is more lent toward the female.
Yeah, Julie.
Apologies to any males out there called Jules. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Jules must be short for Julie.
Okay, that's better.
So she lost her virginity with Julie, but we later discovered that Phil had paid him to do it, just to really
Get back at him.
Get back at her father, because there was a big rivalry between the Allens and the Mitchells. Hence why Peggy said that information also to Ruby.
Big history between Johnny Allen and the Square. He was connected to a lot of people.
Yes,
wasn't he?
He upset a lot of people. He kicked out. He first of all pushed out Andy to become like the king of the gangsters, but then he was subsequently then pushed out for Mitchell return with Grant and Phil.
Yes. But
Ruby was always a pawn in their little game. Poor Ruby. She kept pushing back and forth. And she didn't, her trust for her father started to wane a little bit up until his arrest, because obviously he admitted that he had murdered Dennis Rickman, and he died in prison, which was much to Sean Slater's doing, because he had phoned him in prison and kind of jibed him by saying that he was sleeping with Ruby and like they were happy together, but really he was in it just to have the money, the inheritance that he wanted to get.
She's going to be a rich girl. It wasn't really Sean's fault that he died, though.
Well, it wasn't his fault.
He could have had a heart attack at any time.
It's true, but his winding up and constant pushing of him kind of was the last straw, and it made him have the heart attack in prison. And I mean, you'd think that in prison there'd be a lot of people to stop that from happening, but obviously there wasn't enough medical.
They didn't want Johnny Allen alive, did they?
Well,
Dangerous gangster, they wanted to get rid of him.
Yes, and on her 18th birthday, Ruby Allen discovered that her father had died. But she also lost a lot of friends along the way, because she became really good friends with Stacey Slater.
Yes.
But because she told Stacey a few home truths about her brother Sean, and obviously Slaters stick together, both Sean and Stacey left Ruby friendless and pretty much no reason to stay in the square anymore.
I watched her last scene the other day online. And she leaves in a taxi, which isn't always the best exit.
To Julia's theme or
no
Ruby's theme?
No. She didn't get her own theme. Yeah, and she says she's never going to set foot in this place dump again. She doesn't ever want to come back here. She has no need to come back here.
Well, she's
better than Wolford.
Yes.
So.
Well, she had the money. She had like her father's money, and we presumed because it's gangster money, it's going to be a lot. So she could have gone off on her.
She shouted out, What's the dad called? I can't remember. Johnny. I'm Johnny Allen's father. No one forget it.
I'm Johnny Allen's daughter.
Sorry, yeah. So, yeah, she was very cocky when she was leaving.
Was she? Well, I don't think she's as cocky returning.
11 years later, yeah.
I mean, she's down as an occupation, as an entrepreneur. So, is that a clue of what's going to be happening when she returns? I mean, first of all, let's just get the elephant out of the room and just say, why is she returning?
Well, I've been asking this.
You've asked it a few times on the show. You've asked it a lot of times on Twitter. And to be fair, the general census is a lot of people agree with you.
Especially now they've revealed her return storyline. It's so stupid.
But there's no call for her. And the returning storyline is relying very heavily on people remembering who Ruby Allen was.
Yes. So should we tell everyone what the returning storyline is?
Well, we should say this is a spoiler alert. So if you don't read the articles online or any information about what's happening in the future of the soap, you might be best off just skipping forward now. Have you done it? Good. Right, go on then.
Yes, so it's been announced that she is returning to meet up with Stacey at E20 for a girls' night out.
Via a text message, a mysterious text message.
Mysterious. And then they've announced, like in the newspapers, that it's a rape storyline.
Right.
But they're doing it where you don't know whether it was consensual or not.
Right, because it's a hot topic, and it has been a hot topic for a little while, where mainly men, I should say, have argued that they thought that they've had sex with someone, they thought it had been consensual, and then the next morning they get the police on their door, and the woman has said they've been forced into sex. Yeah,
it's just a bit odd, because apparently it's happening the episode she comes back. It's the first thing that happened.
Yeah, that's where the problem lies, really, because it's very much relying on you remembering who Ruby Allen was, the kind of character she is.
But even we remember who she is, but she's not been on it for 11 years. Like the first storyline, the first episode for her to come back is that she goes off with a guy. It all happens off screen, and then she obviously reports that she's been raped. It's just like it's given no one any time to care for the character or be upset that this has happened. Like, the guy that does it isn't even a character at all. But really, you have the same knowledge of him that you do as her, really, don't you?
So there's no kind of empathy for her. They've done it before. They've done it recently on Casualty, but they were.
Well, they did that really well because it was two established characters.
Yes,
and the woman on that Casualty, she was a really popular character, so it did get a lot of attention.
I mean, something with a topic like rape, it's a really tricky situation to make a story from, and you've got to be so careful with it. And it can upset a lot of people if it's done for sensationalism, and this does have a little hint of that, don't you think?
I mean, the storyline's fine, just that character.
It's all down to Ruby.
Well, it doesn't need to be Ruby. There's so many characters on Eastenders that haven't been used in the past 6 months.
Robbie.
It could be like Kush has just slept with this other girl. Oh, so they could have showed his side of it.
Oh, I see.
Or something.
So they could have done it that way.
Bex. Could happen to Bex. She's 18. Louise hasn't had a storyline in ages. I know Louise is a bit younger. We got Jagger and Tiffany. That could have gone that way. So, yeah, I mean, all those characters you actually care for, and they're on the square already.
I mean,
so why bring back Ruby after 11 years to have this happen to her on the first episode she's back? Or even Stacey on a night out.
Well, it had happened to Stacey. Those shows, then she confides to Ruby that it's happened to her on a night out. I mean, it's which direction they're going with this as well, because are they going to do it down the same route as potentially it's been done before, where you actually see both sides of the story? You see the male side and the female side. The guy who's obviously misunderstood the indications that she wanted to have sex. The woman maybe not really realizing what she'd done, or felt like he had done too much. Like the old adage says there's two sides to every story. The thing with EastEnders is it's very black and white.
Well, this is going to be, because Ruby's the character you supposedly know, and this guy is just going to be a random guy you really see.
So that's my point.
Why couldn't it have been two main characters?
If EastEnders, it's very rare where they do a story and there's shades of grey between. It's either they've done something right or they've done something wrong. There's no, well, yes, they've done something wrong, but, or yes, they've done that, but, and so there's never that. It's always this or that. And so to do a storyline where they're hinting that it's going to be, well, was she raped? Did she get it wrong? Was she, that's not, it's interesting that they're trying to do it.
It's a good storyline and it's a good topic. Just that it's so unneeded to be Ruby Allen. It's just not needed at all. Like, you have no empathy, or you have no idea what Ruby's like anymore. You haven't seen her for 11 years.
That's true.
You don't know how many boyfriends she's had, or who she's married, or you don't know anything.
No.
So I don't know why. It's just like they've thought, oh, we need to bring back a character. Let's give her this storyline.
But they obviously want to bring her back with an impact. And that's one way of doing it.
I mean, also, does this mean this is just her storyline and then that's it?
Well, see, that's what I'm wondering too, which is really uncomfortable for the actress Louisa. It's gonna be, because I think she's really excited about coming back to the soap, but with a storyline like that kind of is a one-hit punch, and then she gets sidelined, put back to.
And like, is she going to stay in Wolford for a few? Why is she staying in Wolford if this has happened to her?
Or did it happen in Wolford, or do you think she just wants to?
It happens on the night she goes out with Stacey, but...
Oh, it happens on that night?
Yeah.
I thought this happened previous, and she
it happens on the night where she comes to meet Stacey in the club, and she goes out and Stacey goes home, and that's when it happens off screen.
Oh, okay.
But
God, that's a fast track,
why
isn't it?
Why? It's very strange. I mean, before we knew what the storyline was, we were trying to work out why Ruby was going back. We had all sorts of theories about
taking over E20.
Yeah, or coming to talk to Sharon about how her dad arranged Dennis to be killed and looking for forgiveness, or something with Stacey or Sean being pregnant with Sean's baby, but
no, nothing.
It doesn't seem like it's anything, unless there's more to it and she is going to stay on it later. But why couldn't this storyline have been a year or so down the line? I
mean, it would be a shame if they give her this big storyline, get that goes on for 2 weeks to a month probably at the most. It's also being overshadowed. They're introducing this bigger character in an overshadow where the bigger story is actually happening at the moment, which is the Carters. Like, that's the main story. It does seem like they're kind of earmarked her in for, this is her return, and we're doing this. And then bizarre. That's it. It does. I mean,
they haven't even given Mel her full storyline yet. She's been in it for months.
But they've finally gotten to her story.
So
they've just done the Jack, and
it's very strange.
Yeah. But anyway, well, it's always nice to bring some fresh blood to the soap. But she's fresh blood in the scheme of things.
It's just very odd. She was only in it for a year. before.
Well, she was in it for, yes, she was on it a little longer than a year.
Not much, though.
It was about 16 months.
Okay.
Well, there has to be two sides to every, as I said, two sides to every story. I'm trying to add some positivity to
I like the
Ruby's
story.
return.
I just think it
You just don't think it should be for Ruby?
Or she could come back, but have her do something like, I don't know. She could be working with, taking up her dad's old job being a gangster, and that's why Mel's undercover cop has come back to investigate her or something.
Oh, right, so he knew that Ruby was coming back.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just giving out ideas out here, which could be a better storyline. Then
it would be nice. I mean, I never liked EastEnders when it was so heavily based on gangsters. I always found it just a bit like, okay, we're doing this.
Oh
again,
yeah.
But
it makes sense. But if they're bringing her character back, that would make most sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I forgot to say, I saw a quote that she did in 2011.
Oh, exciting.
When she said she would love to return to the show. She stated that she would immediately cause trouble and come back as a hard-faced bitch, as Ruby often let people walk all over her and she constantly cried all the time. So, I mean, that comes to make you think, well, back then she thought if I did return, I'd be a stronger, more like businesswoman leader of my dad's old empire. The name Ruby Allen will mean something.
Yeah,
but
and it looks like she's coming back to a much her same weak role.
Which I think is a bit.
And also,
they
I guess if they are bringing her back and hoping that people remember Ruby Allen, people are going to remember Ruby Allen as the weaker character. So she's not going to come back as this strong.
I remember when she was cast and when she was first shown, and everyone just reacted saying she just looks like Stacey 2.0. So, but yeah, we will see.
Well, they've done lots and lots of publicity shots, so I think there's a long.
We're putting
run
the
here.
bar low, so it could be amazing.
That's it. Expect little and get more. That's what
we will see.
Low expectations, high hopes. We shall see. Anyway, so that was a look back at Ruby Allen and what's going to be happening with her.
Remind everyone who she is.
Yes, so
what she can do.
So you can feel some empathy for her storyline when she returns.
We try.
When she returns next week to the square. We shall see. So what do you guys think? Are you excited about seeing the return of Ruby Allen?
No.
Do you guys think that this could be the beginning of something big for the soap?
No.
Well, do you disagree with Ben?
Well, yeah. Let's see. Let's see what people think.
Tweet us at EastEnders Week. You can email us eastendersweekly@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram at EastEnders Weekly Podcast. And we have a Facebook group, which all you have to do is search for EastEnders Weekly Podcast. And yes, send us your opinions. We've been getting a lot of people's opinions on Twitter and email, and it's been great. And we read them all, and we try to reply to them all too. And we read some out as well on the show. And that was this week's This Is Your Life. There you go. Everything you ever needed to know about Ruby Allen. Now, since we recorded that, we had a few comments on Twitter sent to us. So we're going to read some of those out now.
Because they've obviously posted her return storyline as an article, and I said on Twitter, my opinion, basically what I just said is how I don't think this storyline was really needed for Ruby. And then we just had a few people, so I wanted to read out what they said to us. So we have Mick, not Mick Carter.
No.
At Movie TV Mad. He says, I never cared or liked her in the first run. And I mean, how many females can get raped or attacked on the same square?
How many murders can you have on the same square?
Quite.
How many, you can say that about any really story.
We have at Little Miss Lost 1. She says, I agree. This would have been a great storyline for Hayley, or a consent issue with Bex, or maybe even someone in the care of the Masouds. Flip it, keep Sheanu doing the escort game, then have him charged. The problem they have is most of their current females have already been assaulted. So someone else has said that as well. At EE Sprite, which is Kathy, she says, I agree. Plenty of established females could have been used for this story. Even Stacey herself, when she was split from Martin. I feel they are giving her this just to give her something to do because she was a mediocre character. Always was. Issue is too important to be used this way. At Tommy Licious, who is Sharon Carey, says, I think the first week is too early for this storyline. I think they should have done this story with a guy. And someone replied to her called Mel. She says, but the problem is that Corey had just done that story last year with the male rape.
Yes.
And then at Camilla St. Latham says, at this rate, no one will want to watch EastEnders again. all we get is repeat storylines. How many characters in Wolford have been sexually attacked? So that's 3 people saying this. It was bad enough when Dean did it to Linda.
I feel popular opinion is on Twitter that they it's not very wanted storyline. A lot of people think it's almost shock value, shoehorned in. Yeah, and I
think the main issue is the character it's happening to. I know I keep saying that.
I know, but
it is, or not necessarily that it's happening to Ruby, but the time of her introduction and it happening is too soon, as well as the problem being Ruby.
Yeah, no,
isn't it? It's like, I don't know.
It all comes down to, I think, it depends on what they do with Ruby during and after the storyline.
Like they could have done it with Mel, where she's locking up in the club late or something. Or, I don't know. Like she's been in it for a good amount of time now for people to care. So just a few comments put on recently.
The thing is, you don't want to. I know they've got storyline with Mel now. I suppose they could have done it if they kept it with Mel and Jack. I suppose they could have done something like that with her. Yeah. But I agree that the timing seems a bit odd, and the character seems a bit odd, and it just seems a bit of a, as you say, shoehorned situation for her. But it's nice that we shall see, and it's nice.
We'll be talking about it next week in depth anyway, because it's happening next week.
This, as we said, yes, we've already said she's back next week, so we shall see probably in better detail than before. But we can talk about this till we're blue in the face, and I don't think anything. If we can't change what's already happened, so
we'll wait till it's done.
Let's see how they pull it off. Let's see how they pull it off before we pass any more judgment.
So we've got the ongoing Carter police situation.
Yes. Again, it
seems to make a lot of arrests.
Well, the police don't really have much to go on, do they? And as soon as they get a thread of evidence, they just arrest someone who it may well be linked to. Obviously, the first arrest of the week was Linda, but that happened last week.
It did.
So she's been hanging around the Wolford police for quite a while now. Obviously, the time frame between us watching it and it happening is different.
I mean, the trouble I had. Do you want to hear the trouble that I have with this storyline?
Go on, you have a lot of trouble with a lot of things.
The thing is, there's a lot of like plot holes with this police investigation, which is fine because it's a soap. You're meant to have suspended disbelief a little bit with stuff like this. But the fact that last week they had that opening shot of the police meeting and they had it on the board and they had all this stuff and it was all written down. It was being taken very seriously because they showed us that. Like they don't normally show stuff like that. So it was like a true crime drama. So the reason they put that into our heads, that they're taking this really seriously and they've got this meeting, they've got this board of all the suspects, it makes you as a viewer think, okay, they're taking this seriously, so we're going to treat it like a true crime serial and point it. But then there's loads of flaws like the next week.
But that's exactly it. So where they've kind of at the beginning of last week, where they were looking at the intricate details, they were looking for evidence, looking for clues, going through the whole of the pub to see if they can find any information, looking for witnesses on the crime.
And they showed that board meeting of them all talking about the suspects and stuff.
Yeah, all the different pictures of their faces, which were brilliant, by the way.
So it like implied that they're taking this like a really they've looked into this, they've planned this out, they're looking into it seriously, and then we have this week of 3 arrests, is it?
Linda got arrested.
Yeah.
Then Tina got questioned. I don't think she was arrested, she got questioned. Tina then led evidence to suggest it was Dylan.
Yep, so they arrested him.
Arrested. His was the loosest of them all. That was the most ridiculous. And they even did a proper sting for that one, like a police sting for that one.
It's like, don't use the word "you're under arrest" because to arrest someone, you have to have hard evidence, you have to have motive, like all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
And I know we're taking this seriously, but they've planted it in our head.
Yes.
It's
a serious matter
thing.
Yeah.
So why don't they say, Dylan Box, we're asking you to come in for further questioning or something, not arrest.
Oh no, I agree with you.
And then obviously Mick gets arrested as well as the 4th one this week.
Yeah, let's stick to the arrest then before we do the other parts of the story, because there's lots of different avenues that happened with the Carter storyline. So let's start with then the arrest. So the first arrest was with Linda, which happened obviously last week, and they're basing their evidence that it's Linda's fault on the fact that they've got phone evidence to suggest that she was at the canal. They've got an eyewitness, who could have that been?
Very disappointed.
Yes, who saw her drop something heavy.
The grass on the square.
Drop something heavy into the canal. And there's also the kind of inconsequential evidence, really, which is that why would a mother leave their son in the pub when there could have been a murderer, a shooter, in the pub at the same time?
Yes. I mean, we know that Sheanu has grassed, so we know that.
Yes.
Which I'm not happy about. Because, he was involved in this heist in January. No one grasped on him, knowing that he was doing something naughty.
Yes, but that is explained later
on
Monday's episode, because Sharon and Sheanu start having a bit of a go at one another. Mm-hmm. And Sharon's like, "You do not grasp friends, you boy, you silly boy." Yeah. And Sheanu basically says, "Well, I know now from when I did the heist and then my brother got murdered that the police are there to help you. They're not there to be..."
Yes, well, maybe doing this, Linda will learn that herself, Sheanu. The same way he learned.
Why would Linda?
Well, like, I'm putting... he should put his own thoughts into her. Like, this might be the first time she's ever done something like this. Like, it was the first time he ever did the heist, and he now doesn't agree with it.
A bit different, because if Linda had shot Stuart, that's a potential murder charge. What Sheanu was doing was stopping vans from going down.
Mick got shot because of it.
Halfway.
But that's a potential murder charge. So Keanu's...
Yeah, but again, it wasn't premeditated. And we're presuming that this murder was a premeditated murder. Or shooting. I shouldn't say murder because it's not a murder. A premeditated shooting. So...
Ted shot...
again, not premeditated. Ted has PTSD. See, there's a nice explanation for all of them. No. And Sheanu said that because...
Shouldn't grasp Sheanu.
No. Sheanu said that because of what happened... Because, God, you're just as bad as Sharon. Why don't you go off and go to the wine bar and have yourself a drink?
I will, I'll pay.
Yeah. So Linda's been accused of the first time round, but there's not enough evidence to keep her charged.
No, because they do search the canal, Jack informs Mick. Because Jack has a few words with his mate.
Well, that's true. Because, yes, earlier in the week, Jack goes, after having a hangover, he goes out and Rainey says, "Where are you going?" He says, "I promised Mick a favour." So off he goes, his little Mr. Corrupt, and gets the information that they're trawling through the canal to find something, but they don't know what. No. But they haven't found anything.
No, which is odd.
Well,
she didn't lob it very far.
No, she literally just kind of
dropped it in the mud.
Just kind of plopped it in front of her from a tissue.
So that's bizarre. Whether they just haven't found it genuinely or something more is happening.
Well, I won't reveal yet, but I have a theory.
Why can't you reveal it yet?
Well, because it would be better once we've discussed. Well, no, again, this would be better to discuss it with other things.
Okay. So, she's let go, and obviously Whitney has something on her mind. Apart from the fact that she shot Stuart.
Allegedly. She tells Halfway that Tina didn't phone the ambulance straight away. And so distressed Halfway basically has a go at Tina, saying that she wanted him dead, and she was pretty much like, "Yes, I did, actually." Funnily enough. Yes, I did. Because
everyone did.
Yeah, he attempted to kill me, so a bit upset by that. But Tina's so distraught by this kind of infighting that's happening with the Carters now, because everyone's blaming one another for who did it. Tina goes to the police station. So Tina's number 2. Yeah, she wasn't arrested.
Well, I know I haven't shot him, so I'm just going to go tell them that I did this, and I'll be seen as okay. But they're not that interested, actually, Tina, in your little story.
No, they said
it's not on top of their list.
Well, yeah, bizarrely, the inspector said we'd be more interested if this was a murder charge. So they'd be more interested if Stuart did die for her not to have phoned the ambulance. I guess
it was more of a crime, I guess, if he died because she didn't phone the ambulance.
Well, I suppose it would give her more of a motive, maybe. But then the motive was always there. She didn't phone the ambulance because she didn't want Stuart to get help.
This policeman is awful.
Well, the inspector.
Yeah, I don't like it.
He's a typical EastEnders police officer. He goes in, pushes his weight around, kind of it appears out of nowhere and starts asking questions.
I want to know what happened to that sassy policewoman they had a few weeks ago who was looking into the Stuart accusation of Tina hitting. She had promo shots taken and everything.
Oh, right.
She disappeared. I
I
liked her. She was cool.
I suspect
she was on top of the job.
I suspect because we know that Phil has a past with clients or solicitors or police officers. I suspect that there's a storyline coming down the line where Phil's being investigated, and that female investigator might come along and falls in love with Phil.
No. Not a falls in love with Tina.
Or Tina, but Tina's not part of that. Tina's part of this.
Yeah, I guess.
So, yes, you say Tina has gone in, given her evidence, but then the inspector says, well, if there's nothing else you can give us, what are you here for? And so she says, why don't you speak to Dylan? Dylan was at our house. Dylan had a motive to do it.
So this is where the plot holes
This is
crumble.
when it starts to unravel a little bit, because she has that conversation in the park with Dylan and she doesn't really get anything out of Dylan other than the fact that he kind of admits that he was at the Vic on the night of the shooting.
It's something along the lines of what she says. Well, she says, oh, well, you had that bag the other night. Which obviously they're talking about the fact that Stuart's been shot. So saying the other night in a conversation means the same night as this happened. Like, that's 100%. That's what the night they were talking about.
Yes.
So saying the other night, I know she doesn't say the night when Stuart got shot, but she says the other night you were at our house, and he doesn't say he wasn't there.
No, well, no, he doesn't. That's what I mean. He doesn't say
really
he
odd.
wasn't there. Very odd. But we also find out that the thing that was in his bag that helps him sleep at night wasn't a gun. It was a box of sleeping pills.
This is so stupid. And he tapped it.
I know,
And
he
like looked
tapped
at
it.
her.
For some bizarre
So
reason.
stupid. I mean, obviously later on there's a few theories of what Dylan is up to.
Well, Dylan's
a bit
released.
later.
Yes.
So yeah, he's released on the information that he's got eyewitnesses at the Pig,
Yes.
which is the pub where Stuart used to go to, that grotty pub they went to.
Yeah. So on the night of the shooting, he was at the Pig drinking.
Eyewitnesses, and they have card receipts saying he bought drinks there, apparently. I mean...
So Mick starts doing a bit of delving for himself, and this is when all the Carters are sat around the table, and Mick gets every single one of them to look him in the eye and say...
Apart from Whitney. Whitney wasn't there.
And halfway.
Yeah, but halfway's there. No, halfway's there.
Halfway's there, but he didn't say it.
Oh, right.
But halfway pointed out that the only one who hadn't said it was Mick.
So halfway must have said it then.
No, I'm sure
he
halfway
doesn't.
didn't.
No, they do ask him, and he just looks like, really, doesn't he?
There we go. Anyway,
But
so,
main point is Whitney's not there
but Whitney is not there yet. So
to ask.
So Mick phones Dylan and hassles him a little bit, and Dylan starts to act a little bit differently. He starts to say like, "Oh no, I've got evidence to say it wasn't me." And Mick says, "Yeah, but wait till they find the gun, then they'll find fingerprints on it." And he says something really strange. Dylan just says, "Will it, Mick?" And it's like, okay.
Why is he being so cocky with a sudden?
Well, yeah, and why is he so sure? I don't know, maybe I saw too much into it, but the way he said it was almost like he was inclining that it would be Mick's fingerprints that will be found on that gun. I think this is the right time for me now to quickly open up my box of suggestions.
Okay.
That's what I say to all the boys. So my theory is that this is just another game of Stuart's. That Stuart is playing another game. Now, I don't know whether Stuart shot himself or someone did shoot Stuart. But I think ultimately Stuart has planted bits and pieces, because something else we didn't mention.
Preempt, yeah.
Yeah. When Mick was arrested by the police, they found a shirt. He's adamant that he's never worn that shirt, and
or hasn't worn it for
weeks months. Or whatever, he said months, yeah. And it had Stuart's blood on it, and it looked as though it had been burnt. Well, we don't know of any time when Mick has worn a shirt and tried to burn it. No scenes have happened. So that's something that seems to have been planted. Obviously, Stuart has friends in the Pig, and we know that Dylan had retracted his statement. So had Stuart got into Dylan's brain, convinced him to then be at the Carter's house, perhaps Dylan did shoot Stuart, then ran away. So
could have shot he tapping his bag. He could have had well,
he could have had a gun in there.
No, he could have had Mick's shirt in there. He could have worn Mick's shirt, shot Stuart, so the blood goes on the shirt and the gunpowder residues on the shirt.
If Stuart wanted to put blood on the shirt, Stuart could have just cut his hand or something and just wiped blood on the shirt.
No, it has.
No, it's not the shirt he wore when he shot him.
Oh, okay. This is just another.
This is just another shirt because they.
So what are they using that as evidence for? Because they know they've had lots of fights.
Because it shows that he had a motive, that he had this motive that he would want to kill Stuart ultimately, that Stuart's wound him up and up and up and up. Because they also have that video that they found, and it was at first I didn't quite understand what that video had to do. The video of Stuart touching Linda. At first I didn't really understand it, but eventually it kind of clicked with me. The phone, he had deleted it, Mick had deleted it from his own phone, obviously himself, and rightly so, he did it himself, thinking he could just forget about it. It was deleted from Stuart's phone too, but Mick didn't delete it. But the police are accusing him of deleting it, and because they found it on the cloud, they knew that video existed.
Yeah.
So I think this is just a Stuart's game. I think the Stuart is playing a game. I think he got Dylan to shoot him, run away, plant all this evidence. He had the...
Dennis probably has a few bits of evidence he's planted somewhere, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, Dennis could have been involved too.
He's got the knuckle dusters.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
God knows what else he has in
But
that
this is
bag.
the thing. Would that come up next week? Will the knuckle dusters be found? Because then that... Definitely, because I said last week, Dennis definitely has some link to it.
Yeah.
I don't think Dennis shot him, but Dennis obviously didn't realise what he was doing for Stuart until the night of the shooting. So yeah, and obviously the witnesses in the pig that for Dylan and the card. Anyone could have used Dylan's card. And
Yeah, but surely lots of people saw Dylan in the Vic. Like
he
have eyewitnesses.
He was only in the Vic in the
or
afternoon.
the cafe.
He was only
was he?
Yeah, but it was in the afternoon. He was drinking with Tina. For the rest of the night, he was upstairs with Tina, and the only people who can say
the
he was upstairs
Carters.
are the Carters, and they're investigating the Carters. And so far, the Carters have played such an awful because they're all lying and they're all trying to
to cover each other.
cover
yeah.
each other's back. This is the thing. If one of them just stood up, one of them had shot him, if one of them just stood up and said, "I was the one who shot them," then they could have got their story clear. But they haven't.
No.
Each and every one of them thinks that each and every
lying
one
about something else.
Well,
so
it's
not,
one's not
yeah.
telling the truth and saying it about someone else. So so that's my theory.
I mean, obviously the goal of this, because they kept placing that Mick kept saying the facts. Well, when Stuart wakes up, he'll tell you it wasn't me. Obviously, something happens to Stuart in the hospital where all the nurses come running in. Obviously, he's going to wake up. Mick's going to expect him to say it wasn't me. It wasn't me that shot Mick that shot me. Obviously, Stuart's going to say it's...
Well, we don't know that yet because it hasn't aired.
I know that, but I'm just...
So we do not discuss
what I'm assuming is that's what's going to happen. And obviously, it goes back to that storyline where Stuart covered for Mick and going to prison for him. Stuart's obviously thinking, right, well, you can spend some time in prison now.
Exactly. So Stuart's playing a game.
Is what I'm assuming is what is happening.
Mm.
But I still feel that Whitney shot him.
I don't know.
Whether he did... I mean, the only other thing I thought about is if Stuart did shoot himself, surely the entry bullet wound angle would be known to have not been one that you shot yourself.
I don't think he shot himself, though. Because I don't think he could have shot himself, then put the gun in the icebox, then gone to the kitchen. There would have been a blood trail. Dylan could have shot him. Put the gun in.
Yeah, but if it's Dylan, I'm going to be so annoyed.
Yeah, but Dylan would then be
I'm going to be so angry if it's Dylan.
Yeah, but it's one thing to say Dylan shot him because he wanted to do it out of revenge. There's another thing to say that Dylan shot him because it was part of a grand plan of Stuart. That's much more exciting. So
we will see.
And that's a nice... Don't you think that's a much more interesting reveal as well? That when it starts to fall apart and you realise that Stuart's been playing this game. It's all about games with Stuart. One of the first things that...
If he wakes up.
Well, one of the first things... Well, the first things one of the Carters said when they were being interviewed by the police was Stuart likes to play games. And I suddenly realised that yesterday, and I thought, this is a game. This is one big game. Yeah. Anyway, that's not the only thing that happened with the Carters and Stuart. There was a new character introduced too.
There was. Talk about her quickly. Stuart's daughter arrives to see her father.
Zara.
On his bed. I quite liked her, actually.
Yeah, she was really cool. She was like a bit feisty Whitney.
She was from Essex. Essex girl. And yeah, she was sort of introduced. A bit of a mysterious phone call she made. Obviously, she said that she was meant to be abroad, but she's kind of been lying to halfway about that. She had a drink on her way over just to take the edge off. She said something about her mum not wanting to come. She doesn't care. Her mum doesn't care about Stuart because of what he's like.
Yeah.
And then she has like this strange phone call where she phones someone who I'm guessing it must be the mum. And she says, "Hi, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, he's still alive." So whether that's another pawn in the game of his family wanting Stuart dead as well.
That's the thing. Is the family wanting him dead? I mean, halfway accuses her of coming for some inheritance. So again, is that something we've not been told yet? We're not privy to quite yet. Maybe Stuart.
I mean, how much money does Stuart? He has that grotty flat.
I know, but that's just the way he likes to live, isn't it? He likes to live in his own kind of...
But even a few weeks ago when they went to the pig, remember Stuart was like, "Oh, I'll buy the drinks,"
true.
and then he didn't really have the money to buy the drinks and sort of talked his way of Mick buying them for him. So, yeah, bizarre. But the fact that they've introduced Zara is questioning for me.
There must be more to it. Maybe Stuart. Maybe there's more to Stuart than maybe Zara is part of this as well. This plan.
No, I don't think so. I think she's too.
But she lied. She said she was in Ibiza or she was in Alicante or something like that. But she wasn't. She was in just a nightclub in England.
Interesting. Obviously, they're building up the highways.
Yes.
So yeah, maybe we'll see Stuart's ex-wife/girlfriend soon as well.
Do you think Zara will stay on if Stuart leaves or is outed from the soap? I mean,
probably not. But I'm guessing Stuart's staying for a bit longer.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see the relationship between Whitney and Zara, because you can tell that they're very similar girls. So they're going to be a bit catty to one another.
She was quite funny when she was introduced to Whitney.
Yeah.
Punching above her weight, apparently.
Yeah. Well, and Whitney got really upset, and Zara was a bit like, no, it's a compliment to you. Like,
yeah.
Don't be upset by that.
So, nice introduction to Zara, which was nice.
I bet Twitter was buzzing over the Carters.
It was. So we posted out and said, the police are convinced it's Mick, but what do you all think? So we had just a few comments on here. So we had from Camilla. So, well, even though Mick is a tough guy, I don't think it's him. It could be Shirley, as she shot Phil before. It's definitely not halfway. Linda is also a possibility, as she's not been herself ever since the Dean storyline. But I'm thinking Stuart did it to himself. But how? I just can't make my mind up.
I liked the interaction with Shirley and Sharon this week, I must say.
That was funny. Wet herself.
Yeah, when Sharon asked if she's wet herself. You're up early. Have you wet yourself?
And the mention of Richie, which is always, I haven't seen her for a few months.
I know, I miss Richie with a blonde bob.
White.
What was it, white?
Yeah, she's got white hair. She's got ice white hair, Ice Queen.
She is the Ice Queen.
At EastEnders Fan 21 says, Whitney is my number one suspect. I think she is capable.
Is that just you in disguise
no,
on Twitter,
it's not.
Ben?
And then Stephen True, who is at Max Powered, said, it's blatantly obvious that Dylan Box has framed Mick Carter for his arrest. So he thinks Dylan Box has something to do with it as well.
But he thinks that he's framed Mick Carter. That's interesting. Stephen True, do you think that Dylan had done it off his own back or done it in cahoots with Stuart? Tweet us back and let me know, because I'd like to know what your thoughts are.
No, it must be with Stuart, surely. There was just shorter storyline this week of Sharon and Keanu's ongoing.
Please give them their proper title.
Sheanu.
Thank you.
Sheanu in love. Summer loving. Summer crush.
Autumn, something to warm them up in the autumn day. Autumn angst.
It's coming soon.
Yes.
So they had a storyline of their ongoing relationships. Sharon's questioning, what is she doing with her life?
She is. What am I doing? She looks up at God, up to the skies, to this entity, and says, what am I doing? We know what you're doing, Sharon. You're getting your way and loving it.
She is quite busy. But they have their first sort of lovers tiff this week, obviously, with Keanu being a grass and all.
Yes,
that she doesn't agree with.
As we discussed earlier, Keanu gives his reasons for why he's a grass, and pretty much he says, what do we do now? And Sharon's like, well, there's nothing you can do. You've said the statement to the police now, and he's like, no. What do we do now?
I know. Like even when they're at the house, they were like, finish that argument. She said, we can finish this argument upstairs.
Yeah, I know.
Like, all on her brain is this this boy. So this was at the Archers where she said this after they had their little chat. But there was a bang on the door.
There's a bang on the door. So panic ensues because they think that someone heard their sexy conversation.
Yeah.
Their steamy flirting.
And Keanu's about to step out, but she goes, no, I'll do it. And she goes, all hard.
But this is
top woman.
This seems to be this is another reason why Sharon likes this relationship, because she has the control.
She's like the power, the dominant one.
She is the dominant one. Poor old Keanu. She has the control in this relationship. So throughout this week, you see that too. But we learn that luckily the bang on the door was just Dennis, and he thought they were talking.
I don't know how he made this big bang. I thought it was the Jagger's gang were back and chucked something at the door or something. But it's a bit odd. Like he was there listening and accidentally kicked the door back.
Maybe he kicked it backward when he was running off. Maybe. But he thought they were talking about the shooting and thought that they believed that he had some involvement.
He wasn't listening very well, was he?
No, he wasn't.
Lucky he didn't stay around 30 seconds later. Because that belt would have been whipped off within seconds.
Lucky Amy wasn't there with her iPad.
Well, quite. And there doesn't seem to be CCTV in Wolford either, because there's no
evidence
of Dylan Box, which is very odd.
Very convenient.
So they obviously make up. She keeps trying to pay him though, which is really odd. Like she almost insinuates that he could just be paid to be in a relationship with her, and she'll be like a sugar mama.
Well, I think she's just finding reasons to basically stop him from doing anything else but have sex with her. I almost swore then. To have sex with her. I think that's all she wants. I think she genuinely just wants to keep him.
Do you not think she wants a relationship then? She just wants.
No, she
fun.
likes the danger. She likes the fact that she's being a bit naughty, like the old days. And
I mean, watching classic EastEnders, we're watching classic EastEnders still, and it's so funny seeing 15-year-old Sharon.
She was a flirt even then.
Sharon. Yeah, like a massive flirt, flirting with everyone, going
lofty.
And she's still doing it now, 30 years later.
You don't lose that, Ben. you always have it under your belt. It's always there.
I mean, she's not curling her hair anymore either. She has no time to do her hair anymore. She's straight. Wake up.
She has the dishevelled, gone to the push backward look because all she does is push her head back and forth on the pillow.
He's not accepting her money, so she sees cats.
Well, he's gone off to look. Yeah, he's gone off to look for work. They were meant to meet for lunch. He stood her up because he was a bit disappointed he didn't get the job, and also because he can't afford to take her out and give her nice things. He wants to treat her like a lady. This isn't a game to him, Ben. He's said this to Sharon this week. It's not a game to him.
It's quite fun, and they're not being very subtle with their affair. Like planning to meet at Walford Tube, like in front of everyone.
No, that's true.
Kissing in the secret cafe. I know it's a secret cafe, but it's not that secret.
It's the secret cafe.
So yeah, they're not being very secretive with this affair. So she's not like being very careful. It's not like Irene and her tomboy years ago. They knew how to keep that secret.
That's true. Maybe because Phil's out the country, he's out of sight, out of mind. She doesn't really need to mind. She doesn't really need let her guard down. Perfect.
I mean, Carmel's not gossiping either, so she's all right.
Well, yes,
there's not many gossips around.
Kush alluded to that earlier, didn't he? In the episode, he says, "Oh, you're not gossiping. Something must be happening."
So I guess they're safe for now. But yeah, interesting. I mean, she ends up talking to Kat again, making it quite obvious something is happening between her and Keanu, because she must say to her, "Can you give this money to Keanu to fix your moped?"
Yes.
Which is like, if you were Kat, you'd be like, well, why is she asking me to do this?
I mean, it's kind of valid. Sharon could have said, well, Phil sacked him.
Yeah, well, if Big Mo's sitting behind listening, she'll put 2 and 2 together in seconds, wouldn't she?
That's quite right. We haven't seen her in a while. We haven't seen her in a long while, old Big Mo.
Or if Aunt Babe was there, she'll be blackmailing Sharon by now for some dosh.
She'd have photos. She'd have all kinds of
stuff.
So
yeah, they need to be a bit more careful. It's because there's no busybodies left on the square, you see. They're missing that character.
Big Mo isn't putting numerous tape recorders around the square and recording hundreds of hours of evidence.
There's no busybody to get this affair blackmailed.
Where's Dot?
Well,
why is Dot not there?
Dot.
She could send a little note. Again, it's a bit of a throwback from Classic Eastenders. I know what your wife is doing from a Christian friend.
So yeah, that is basically the storyline. She's secretly paying for Keanu to continue this affair, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up.
I just think it's a bit odd. Like, he doesn't want the money, Sharon. You've got this hunky boy out of your own good looks, not money. It's not all about money, Sharon. I know that's how she was brought up.
But it is to Keanu. It is about money because he has to look after his family.
I mean, like the relationship with him and Sharon isn't about getting money for it.
But she feels sorry for him because he does keep bringing it up. To be fair, it's not like Keanu doesn't keep bringing up that he's not earning. So this is, as you say, this is Sharon's way of keeping him close to her.
That's how she was brought up, wasn't it? Money
is
the answer to everything.
Absolutely.
Just a few things on Twitter about Sheanu. We asked what everyone thought about their relationship. So we had @Matthew. He said, unlike the Preston and Michelle storyline, Keanu and Sharon feel really natural together. We even have Keanu's brief time as an escort that show he's up for a bit of unconventional romance. Ooh. Kate, who is @Auntie Katie, says, to be frank, if I look as good as Sharon when I'm her age and could still pull a fitty like Keanu, I'd go for it, like she is. Good for you, Shezza.
I'd love to. I know it's a bit morbid, but I'd love to know what they get up to in the bedroom. I wish there'd be a scene of them like just under the bed
her
covers.
and Phil is such a boring sex life. She's said that a few times, hasn't she?
He's like military, and that's it.
@Laurie, who is Laurie4, number 4 ever, says Sharon and Keanu are being bold. They're definitely going to get caught soon. So,
well, that's what you said, isn't it? They're not being very secretive about it.
Very well.
No, not at all.
So, yes, we will see where the romance takes us. We're going to pop off now for a little break and have a little game.
Yeah, off to Jack's
My turn.
Oh dear, good help us.
Jack's at a towel. A crime has been committed in the square, another crime, and Jack Branning has vowed to protect the identity of the culprit, but there was one witness, me, and I can't lie. Jack has left me to be questioned by you for 60 seconds. I can only reply with yes and no, and you have to guess the character who I saw commit the crime.
All right. I presume there's a background story to this crime.
There is a witness statement, yes. Last week, around 1 a.m, I was out walking around the square gardens when I heard a gunshot. I decided to have a quick drink at cafes to calm my nerves.
All-night cafe.
When I saw someone inside stealing tea bags from behind the counter while Marie was outside smoking. Now, I'm not a snitch, but if you can guess who I saw, then I'll tell you who it was.
Oh, poor Marie. She gets minimum wage as it is already. I can imagine Ian Bill taking the money out of these further wage for these tea bags that got missing. And then those industrial-sized bags as well. You get about 500 in one of those. Oh, dear. Anyway, it's enough about Marie.
She shouldn't be out on a fag break, should she? Luckily, I was there. So you have 60 seconds to so you can work out who it was I saw. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh. Is the person male?
No.
Oh. Is she normally someone who can't sleep at night? Does she have problems sleeping at night?
No.
Has she just gone back to school recently?
No.
Does she have... does she predominantly wear very short skirts?
No.
Does she like... I presume she's in the...
30 seconds.
I presume she's in the cafe wanting something to eat.
I guess so.
Yeah. So she was there eating, was she? Was she alone?
Yes. She's still tea bags.
Yes, but she might have been in cahoots with someone else.
No.
Does she work on the market?
No.
Does she have a son?
No.
Does she have
10
a
seconds.
daughter? Does she have a daughter?
Yes.
Did she used to play a cornet?
Cornet? No.
A musical instrument?
Yes.
Is it Sonia?
Yes.
Yes!
Oh, 58 seconds.
Thank you.
Yes, it was Sonia that was stealing tea bags.
I mean, the reason I was asking whether she was there alone was she might have been there with perhaps a partner or a best friend. So then, if
Not Sonia.
But she hasn't got. No, but she could have gone to have a quick chat with Martin about Bex's A level results or how her AS levels are getting on. I don't know how that works anymore. Do they have AS levels anymore?
I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
You have to. You have to ask someone of age.
I shall ask Sonia. I shall ask Sonia when I get her down.
She's going to be arrested now.
Good.
By Jack. So that was Jack Branning's witness protection. Well, there you go. Now we know what Sonia's been up to for the past 6 months. So one last storyline of the week, which was Carmel, who is back. She's been quite absent for quite a while.
Yeah, she's kind of kept out of everyone's business, hasn't she? As we said earlier, she's not been gossiping.
No. So we sort of have the beginning of the week where Kush is reminding her about support meetings and things. But she's drinking smoothies.
She is.
Keeping healthy.
She's keeping healthy. She's making sure that she's of healthy mind, healthy heart. And she's not particularly keen about the idea of going to this support meeting. So instead she starts cleaning around the house.
She does. Where she finds a box of shoes where she's bought for Shaquille early for his birthday, I'm assuming.
Yeah, she bought some trainers that she noticed Shaquille was looking at online. And she thought she'd buy them as a surprise for his birthday. And she realises that the soles of the shoes are dirty. Yes. And naughty Shaquille. You're always up to no good. He knew that she'd bought them those trainers, so he'd gone out on them before. So that made Carmel feel a bit like, oh, do you miss? I really miss him.
Naughty Shaquille.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of reminded us all of the facts about Shaquille and everything's putting us back into our minds again for the beginning. And then we also see Bruno's mum is sort of appearing around the square, like she's looking at the shrine of Shaquille.
Yeah, she's
and sort of loitering around, looking a bit sorry for herself.
She says she goes to that shrine in the square every week and she puts new flowers on there every week. But
Not seen her yet.
Well, Carmel's never spotted her up until today. But then she did actively go to Carmel's door, which made it a little bit different. But Carmel was a bit like, well, now's not a good time. I actually really don't want to talk to you right now. But she does get her phone number, which is a bit odd. Because later...
Yeah, because Carmel texts her, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Ask her how she is, or does she want to meet or whatever.
Meet for a drink.
And she comes to the square again. I mean, Kush is understandably quite angry that this woman's hanging around. She says that she has a bit of trouble over at the council flats where she lives, some of the, obviously, a group of guys
the boys
have got it in for her because of what Bruno did.
Bruno's group. Well, no, because she grasped on Bruno, and so ultimately also the group. They all now are against her and calling her a grass and throwing rotten fruit and vegetables at her. She can't live at her old address anymore. No. She feels as though she's threatened all the time. We should also mention that Keegan's not very happy to see her either, to the point that he spits at her.
He does.
Which is like the ultimate insult, isn't it? It's really kind of, that's a really nasty thing to do, to spit towards someone's direction.
We also have another scene with Keegan and Carmel where she sort of shoots him down for doing that, and that's when you get reminded again that she kind of still blames him for Shaquille's death, because he tries to blame the mum for the upbringing of Bruno, and if it wasn't for her this wouldn't have happened, and she goes, well, if it wasn't for you, Shaquille wouldn't have. She kind of stops herself, but she still hasn't quite forgiven Keegan.
You have to remember, Keegan was the one who stole the bike in the first place. Yeah. So it all stemmed from that one stupid mistake. So yes, you're right. And Carmel also says that Sophie and her are both trying to make sense of it all, and neither of them know how to do it. So in Carmel's mind, she feels as though if she can relate to Sophie can relate to her. Together, they can maybe make sense of the whole situation.
I mean, I remember Carmel saying, obviously, when all this happened, she said something along the lines of, it could have been, so easily could have been Shaquille who stabbed Bruno. It could have been the other way around so easily. So she's trying to see that side of it. The fact that Sophie feels like she's lost her son as well. Obviously in different ways, because their son's still alive. But they're both sort of grieving for a lost son, I suppose, in a way. I mean, not too sure about the fact that she invited her to live in Cush's flat with them.
I know, that was a bit odd, wasn't it?
It's not Carmel's flat either.
No.
Which I thought,
To be fair to Sophie, she did say, I don't really want any trouble. But Carmel again pushed it and said, well, this is my decision, and I want... But it's like, is it your decision, Carmel? It's not really.
Yeah, and Cush was understandably a bit like, well, I don't want her here. It's a constant reminder about what's happened. But I mean, obviously, Carmel is now a few steps ahead of Cush in the grieving process. Because obviously we know that Cush didn't really have a chance to grieve to begin with, because he was trying to make sure Carmel was okay and sort everything out for the funeral. So he's, in like that, 8 steps or whatever of grievance. He's obviously a few steps behind where Carmel is in her headspace at the moment.
Although she may be ahead, I think, with acknowledging it, I think with making sense of it, going back to this making sense of it, I think she's still a bit behind. To Cush, it's simple. Shaquille was killed by Bruno, and anyone related to Bruno, it's their fault. I mean, Carmel does make a good point that when Cush says, it's her fault, it's the mother's fault, Sophie's fault for why he stabbed Shaquille, Carmel says, well, then you could blame me for any mistakes you've done, because the way I've brought you up. Yeah. But Cush says, yes, but I'm a grown adult. But Carmel's right. Cush has grown up, but he was still a boy, and Bruno really needed to be brought in. But then again, it's the gang welfare, and again later on because Sophie convinces Carmel to meet with her and Bruno in prison.
Yes, they have like a meeting, don't they?
They have a meeting together. Carmel agrees to meet because she wants to have a few words with Bruno, and Bruno, when they do meet, seems quite sincere in his apology, and he seems quite genuine. He's crying.
She's crying.
Yeah, he says that the way I've been brought up, the area I live in, it's, stab or be stabbed. It's not as simple as, in a way he's right, in the area he's brought up in, but this was all down to him trying to show off to his friends, really. I think it was a bit unnecessary. He did say that he didn't mean to kill Shaquille, but at the same time, he still stabbed him. So there was intent there. There was some kind of punishment that he wanted to cause toward this other, human. So I don't know I think Carmel just saw this very vulnerable boy in front of her and kind of felt sorry for him because he seemed to put on this act that he was sincerely apologising to her.
He was sad by what he had done. But I mean, you have this scene where you think, oh, okay, this looks, I guess he's finally accepted what he's done, because we heard rumours before that he's bragging about it in prison.
Yeah.
So Carmel has done this. She's done the meeting. She's left. And then you just get this sort of sinister face from him where he looks at his mum and sort of smiles at her.
Sarcastic smile.
So he's obviously, like we thought, Keegan said to her, what he was doing it for is just to try and get a lighter sentence.
Yes, he's trying to work around her so that because I think if you
show remorse,
if you can show remorse and you can get the family to forgive you, I think you're almost given more lenient when you're up for parole a bit later.
Yeah.
Because I tell you that I don't know the guy who plays Bruno, but he played it brilliantly. And that face he gives, the way he just kind of sits back with almost like a swagger, and then he gives this really this kind of nasty little smile to his mum. After his mum also said to him, like, I can start being proud of you again now. Yeah. And then he just kind of is almost, it's just horrible, isn't it? Really,
and she was just as shocked. Like, it wasn't something that they had planned together. No, which is nice. I think that would have been distasteful if it was something that she had planned to get Carmel to come. So she was just as shocked and appalled, I think, as the rest of us.
But she was. I think she was. Shocked. I don't know if she's quite sunk in yet, though, to her that what her son's doing. So that'd be interesting.
See how that develops. I mean, obviously, this is, I'm assuming, leading up to Carmel's leaving storyline.
Yes, which isn't actually that long away.
No. So I'm not sure what goes on really to make her leave. So it'd be interesting to see.
I mean, it's going to be obviously something that was almost like the final betrayal that's going to make Carmel be like, no, this is it, I'm going. If you leave the square, it's always for a fresh start.
I'm just wondering if, I don't know what could possibly happen, but whether something I'm assuming must happen between her and Kush maybe to make her, I don't know what would make her leave Kush.
She could forgive Bruno. Bruno then gets this shorter sentence. Then he reveals that he did it to be horrible. Then Kush is like, I told you, Mum. I told you that this is what they were doing. Something about like that. Some
time away or
away.
Or maybe her and Sophie become really good friends and
go on holiday together.
Get a place together. I don't know. Maybe they tour England doing talks about stabbing victims. Maybe they work together. Maybe it would be something like that.
It'd be nice if it was something positive like that. To be fair, I would. In a way, I'd prefer it to be positive, but I don't think it will be. No, I think it's going to be something very
it's too
sad.
hard to write in why Carmel's not here, if that was the case. But it's nice to see Carmel back again. So that's this week's lot of storylines.
Yeah, phew me, that was...
Quite a few.
Quite a few, wasn't it?
Getting through
into
the psyche of everyone. So we got the poll of the week results this week. What
did.
Was the question?
Well, we kept it simple this week, just because we thought, we were interested in how people were gauging this storyline with Stuart's shooting. So, simple question: who do you think shot Stuart? And we gave 4 alternative answers, but we encouraged you also to comment, as we always do, and give any suggestions and your reasons why. So, first of all, our 4 suggestions were Whitney, Tina, Dylan and Mick, and I'd like to thank everyone who voted for this. It's our most popular poll, so it was very good. And
I didn't vote this week either. Again,
you're not allowed to. You're part of the show. So, out of those 4, who do you think was
Whitney? Who I think is that what everyone else thinks?
It was what most people thought. In fact, it was over half the vote, 53%. So it was a whitewash, really, to be honest. Dylan came second with 24%. Tina third, 18%. Mick, it wasn't until the very end when people actually started to vote for Mick, and he only got 5%.
Oh, really? So
I think people may have been swayed a little bit by Friday's episode. But yeah, a few comments then. And again, if I say your Twitter name wrong, I apologise now. It's at AKA Wingy, or Wingy. He says, I think it was Lady Di, the pooch. She trod on the trigger. I mean, earlier in the week, we did also suggest perhaps it was Lady Di, because she looked a bit...
suspicious.
Yeah.
And the official BBC EastEnders Twitter posted a photo of Lady Di behind bars.
Yeah, they did.
So they're dropping hints.
They are. I mean, I hope they don't do something stupid like that. Again, we said this last week. It's like the Who Shot Mr. Burns storyline. It's if they do that, I will just... At Doctor Who Time Space says, we haven't seen Tracy for a while.
It's true.
That's true. I said it's always the quiet ones. It is always the quiet ones. I mean, Tracy, Shrimpy, Marie, all 3 of them. Maybe they all have. Stuart has dirt on all 3 of them.
Yeah,
maybe that'd be interesting. At Rixton Fan 101 says it's possible that Stuart shot himself to get some sort of evil revenge against the Carters and to try and get them to turn against one another. I mean, as you said, it would be a bit difficult to shoot yourself in the stomach. And also the blood trial. It's just you couldn't. The way he was shot, it looked like he was shot quite severely. So you never know. At Sarah Jane Stan L1 says, remember how she failed to actually call the ambulance? It's definitely Tina. So yes, that's interesting.
No one knows today.
No one really
We're all
knows.
running around in circles, just like the police.
It's all very up in the air.
We need to do one little bit more of information from someone, I think, and then we can place it all together.
So there we go. So that's what the general census is on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't think really anyone knows, but
No.
a lot of strength is going toward Whitney.
John York knows, fingers crossed.
I'm sure he does, and the whole writing room. We can look forward to it.
So yeah, very exciting.
So, as always, check out our poll of the week. We always post it during Monday's episode as it's aired in the UK on Twitter. And you can find us on Twitter at Eastenders Week. You can also find us on Instagram at Eastenders Weekly or email us eastendersweekly@gmail.com and search for us on Facebook. Give us your opinions. We love to hear your opinion on something. If you disagree with us, if you agree with us, send them all in. And it's great to hear from you all. Great. So, Ben, I think we've had a really great show today.
It's been really good.
Yeah. I mean, I promised you fried chicken for lunch if you did well today. But you know what? I'm going to call your work. I'm going to tell you you're not coming in today. And we're going to go out and we're going to do a bit of shopping.
Yay!